Well, good afternoon, everybody. Happy Tuesday, and welcome to the WordPress News Roundup here on iThemes Training. This is the first webinar in which we're featuring our new Solid WP brand here on iThemes Training. At some point this month, we'll be converting to the Solid Academy as the iThemes brand is being replaced by Solid WP. So we're looking forward to announcing all those things, and as soon as I have something to show you with the logo, I'll have that out here. Really excited about the new things that are happening with Solid WP. Yes, so we are now with News Roundup live stream. Glad you're here. It's May 2003. If you're just joining us in the chat, I'm going to share the link to today's slides. You can download everything that you see on the screen, and I would recommend that because we have links to all the articles down there in the footer of each slide, and so that's always helpful. Yeah, I'm hoping also to get some Solid WP swag. Right now, I'm currently wearing our WordCamp Birmingham t-shirt today. I know actually some of you who are on the live stream today might indeed have this very same t-shirt because I saw you there. Let's get started, shall we? As we begin today, we start, as always, with our news from core WordPress. A lot of things have been going on in the last month with core, starting with the release of WordPress 6.2.1, which perhaps we should preface with the ill-fated WordPress 6.2.1. That was released on May the 16th as a maintenance and security update. This should have happened automatically with your WordPress site. 5 security vulnerabilities were addressed. Pretty important vulnerabilities. They were backported as well, all the way back to WordPress 4.1. It fixed 20 bugs in core itself, many in the block editor, 10 of those in the block editor. However, WordPress 6.2.1 created a problem in that if you were using a block theme or using block templates to build your site, it broke shortcodes inside of block templates. So an errant piece of code caused any shortcodes that were living in block templates not to render what those shortcodes should render. So it affected a lot of folks that were using block templates. You wouldn't have noticed anything if you were using a theme that is not using full site editing, or the site editor. So if you're using Cadence, for example, this wouldn't have affected you. It only would affect the latest version of block themes that are out there. So, for example, a lot of folks were using block templates to, drop in breadcrumbs at the top of their layout and newsletter sign-up forms, those sorts of things. And those things just weren't displaying. And that happened with an automatic WordPress core update. So that was a bit of a problem, as you can imagine. Some users reported broken functionality on hundreds of pages that rely on shortcodes. That prompted a quick release of WordPress 6.2.2 about 4 days later, I believe. And in the meantime, people just had to work around by either swapping out their block templates to template parts or downgrading to WordPress 6.2, although at that point you were vulnerable to the security fixes that 6.2.1 fixed. It was a bit of a mess. And there's a lot of conversation going on about, now we're a little concerned about these core automatic minor updates that shouldn't break things like this one did. So there's some discussion happening about that, and we'll have to see where that all lands once the dust settles. WordPress 6.2.2 was released May the 20th, just 3 days ago. It addressed those shortcode errors that was created in 6.2.1, and it fixed one other security issue that wasn't included in 6.2.1. It was a rapid response release to the issues in 6.2.1. So you ought to have 6.2.2 on all your sites now. That should have happened automatically. And unless you've specifically said don't apply minor core updates. All right. WordPress 6.3 is in the planning phases. The beta 1 will be released in about a month on June 27th with beta 2 on the 3rd and July 11th with beta 3. Moving into the release candidates in mid and late July. The dry run for release will be August the 7th with a general release of WordPress 6.3 on August the 8th. So just a couple months out, really, not too long at all before WordPress 6.3 starts to land out there in the wild. You can follow all of that. The planning and the roadmap are linked here on this slide if you want to follow the progress there. WordPress 6.3 looks like it's going to be primarily block editor, although we might see some other improvements. And as those are announced, we'll, of course, mention them here on the News Roundup. Something else that's going on is interesting little tool that the core theme team has created. It's a new theme called Stacks. Now, we actually showed a plugin in a plugin roundup a long time ago. It's been a few years that allowed you to use the block editor to create slides, like a PowerPoint slide deck like this. And Stacks is a block theme that enables that. So if you do presentations, this might be something kind of fun to play around with. You can just go to wordpress.org/themes and search for Stacks. It is one of these new community themes from the initiative that we talked about a few months back, where community themes will be getting a little bit of love from the WordPress core team, and they'll be a little more reliable than perhaps some of the other free themes that are out there. It's a theme that was designed by Saxon Fletcher and Ben Dwyer. It's the flow for creating slides is pretty straightforward. So, play around with it. If you do, talks at meetups or that sort of thing, just download this and play around with it, because you might find that it's an interesting little tool. Certainly not as capable as an app like PowerPoint or something like that, but could be something fun to show at a meetup if you're doing that. Stacks supports mobile and desktop viewing. So if you're, just presenting from your phone, it'll work like that. You can really see how the block editor is used in unique ways using this theme. All right, so here's what it looks like, by the way. This is the site editor. It is a block theme. And so, it does some interesting things. Uses templates and template parts and all of those things. Yeah. And it edits in the block editor, just like you would expect it to. All right, a new proposal has also been floated in the core channels to retire older WordPress default themes. So if you, like me, might have a couple of lingering old 2012 themed WordPress sites out there. The very first website I ever built was on the 2012 theme. Those older themes are being retired, or there's a proposal to retire them. So currently there are 13 of the 20 themes that have to be actively maintained by developers, and it's quite a bit of work. It's quite a bit of work to do that, as you can imagine. So the proposal says if a theme has less than 1% usage and it's more than 5 years old, it's going to be sunset, retired. So under this proposal, the themes from 2010 through 2016 would only get security updates going forward. So they won't become a security problem, but there won't be any fixes to keep it compatible with core going forward as well. So this is a proposal that has been met with positive feedback. I mean, it's taking developer time to maintain these old themes that only have a very fraction of usage. So yeah, it's going to let folks focus on more important things. It does, however, affect 730,000 users. So that's a lot. And I wonder, though, and I wasn't able to, I kind of dug into this a little bit. I wasn't able to figure out, is that people who have just the themes installed on their site, but not active, or is that active? I'm not quite sure, but a lot of folks will be affected by this, but probably it's a good move for the core team. Let's really put developer hours in other places. All right, let's turn the page to some news from Gutenberg and see what's going on in the block editor world. Gutenberg 5.6 was released on April the 19th, just a little over a month ago. It adds something pretty interesting, which is called the details block. It's an experimental block that allows you to hide content. So, you could accomplish something like this with a tab or an accordion, but this is a simple block that until you click it, it hides whatever it contains. So a use case might be spoilers that you don't want to show on the page, or hiding a transcript unless the block was clicked, or a video. So it basically reveals content inside of it that is hidden until something is clicked. It looks like this. Boom, there it is, like show and hide. Very simple, but probably a very useful tool for page design. So I can think of a lot of ways that I might use this. Again, this is in the Gutenberg plugin, so it's not going to be in the block editor probably until 6.3 of WordPress in core, but it is being worked on and developed. It is currently an experiment, but install the Gutenberg plugin and you can play with it. Also in Gutenberg 5.6, the spacer block has gotten the spacer block has gotten a little bit of love, and it's got some presets that are set, as well as the ability to control the spacing in a fluid way. So, you can grab this little dot and increase live, by the way, much like you can in Cadence now. So this is part of Gutenberg, not in the core block editor yet. You can also move the height forward with this slider that's preset at certain intervals. It's a great UI, and yeah, again, very similar to what Cadence is already doing. Also in Gutenberg 15.6, there are style variations that you can apply and edit while you're in browse mode. So you'll be able to see all of the different style variations of a page from within the site editor. And again, this is assuming you have a block theme. It will make it easier to access and edit those styles. So here's how this kind of looks. So here's just a very basic styling. So in the site editor, clicking styles, you can quickly apply styles. That's nothing new, although the UI is a little bit different. But if you want to edit the style, you can do it just like this. Let's change our primary font to something else. Boom, there it is. And save it. And now that becomes the style. Pretty cool. The thing that I'm really excited about in Gutenberg 15.6 is this new command center. Now, the command center, it's part of the site editor. This is something I think that could be very interesting as the core block editor grows. So this is, and by the way, we've had plugins like this on the plugin Roundup in the past, where it's kind of like a control bar where you can just type stuff and it happens, like pages, and it opens pages, that sort of thing. This is that sort of thing, but it's going to be integrated within core WordPress. So it can be a quick search to jump to pages or other sections or other templates. And think how easy that will be, especially if you're using the site editor, for example, just to jump back and forth between templates and sections, and pretty interesting. This is going to be, it's very experimental at this point. They're just starting to do work on it, but it's going to be the basis of an extensible command component, which means you could tap into it, like, for example, later, and we'll see a slide on this later in the news roundup, with like AI commands would be where they would execute in the block editor. We're really seeing, I think, with this component, it's really kind of a step to get us to where we'll eventually be with integrating AI and other features into WordPress and how we build things. So right now you can use it for finding your way around or running commands. Here's how it works. If you, this takes a second to start. All right, so we're going to click there. Boom. Okay, there's our command bar, and it gives just a few things that you've seen before, quick links, or you can search for add something, or just click right there and it takes you to add a new page, for example. So really cool. It's just, again, it's experimental in the very beginnings, but this is something that as it works its way into core and more things tap into it, this is going to be a central part of the way we use WordPress going forward. So a lot happened in Gutenberg 15.6. Gutenberg 15.7 was released a couple of weeks ago. One of the main things that you'll see different in 15.7 is the site logo can now be replaced from within the sidebar itself. And this is a pretty good move because you ought to be able to update the branding on the site pretty easily. So this will be in the site editor. And if you click on the logo in the nav block, it lets you from right here in the sidebar change that site logo. Couldn't do that before. And that's a nice UI. Again, just they're iterating slowly but surely these things. Every 2 weeks, the block editor is getting better and better and better. They've also added duotone filter controls in the block sidebar. I mean, the core team loves duotones, and they are pretty cool. And they're making those even more available than they were before. So they were previously sort of hidden. You had to know where to go to get to them. Now they're available right there in the style settings in the sidebar. So you have all those built-in duotone effects that you can apply to any image. Something else they did in 15.7 is the addition of fluid typography. Now, this is really helpful because have you ever designed a page the way you want it to be in whatever it is that you're designing in, and then you make your screen smaller for a tablet or phone view, and the fonts just stay really gigantic, right? And you get to go in there and tweak them, and it's really annoying. So the fluid typography basically senses the width of the screen, the size of the screen, and dynamically, smartly sizes down your fonts to look really good on those sizes. Now, they get into how they did this. I'm going to read this and see if you're as confused as I am when they finished out. But it basically refines the handling of fluid typography using the logarithmic scale factor to calculate a minimum font size for smaller screens. I'm just going to say it uses magic, and it makes everything look good. So that's basically what happens here. And this fluid typography is a really beautiful thing. All right, so a lot of work has gone on in Core in the last couple of weeks, and kudos to all those fine folks that are doing this great work. All right, let's take a look at news on security. My goodness, the number of vulnerabilities just keep getting bigger. 162 plugins in the last month have had active vulnerabilities, or they are closed. 168 have been patched. And no, I am not going to read them all. We have we are no longer listing the plugins with vulnerabilities in the news roundup. It's just not possible anymore. So many problems. And by the way, you may be wondering, why is it that there is a sharp increase in these number of vulnerabilities? If you've been watching the news roundup for several months, you will have noted that just after the first of the year, the vulnerabilities went up from maybe 30 on a big month, maybe 40 vulnerabilities, up to 80, 100, 120, 160 this month. So what's going on? And here's what's happening. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but there are more people doing research, security research on themes and plugins. And it's not that it's not that vulnerabilities are increasing. It's that they're being more readily identified, which is both good and bad, meaning like there were problems all along. We're just now pointing them out. So Patchstack and others are at the front lines of bug bounties and things like that to find these vulnerabilities. It's good for all of us because these are things that it makes WordPress more secure. So this is a good thing. And of course, if you're using iThemes Security Pro, you get twice daily site scans for your vulnerabilities. It emails you if your site has a vulnerable theme or plugin. And if you have iThemes Security Pro, it will actually automatically apply an update if it exists, if your theme or plugin is vulnerable. And all that's powered by Patchstack. And Patchstack is a phenomenal platform, which we'll be talking about in just a moment. All right, another big vulnerability that happened this month was with ACF. So if you're an ACF user, hopefully you've already dealt with this. This is in both the free and the pro versions of advanced custom fields. It affects, they say, over 2 million sites. The WP Tavern article said it affects over 4.5 million sites globally. The way this thing works is that users with privileges like an editor user or an admin user, for example, could accidentally compromise sensitive information on the site by visiting a URL that was crafted by a hacker to give all the correct, query strings and so forth after to allow this vulnerability to be exploited. The vulnerability was fixed in plugin versions 5.12.6 in the free and 6.1.6 in the pro, and it's been given a CVE. So this is a big deal. If you're an ACF user, you absolutely need to make sure this is up to date. Super important because the ACF vulnerability was already being exploited within 24 hours of its announcement by Patchstack. So Patchstack published this vulnerability on May the 4th, and within a day, hackers were actively exploiting. Now, you may wonder, well, why do they publish these things if the hackers are going to exploit them? Well, you got to let users know. And there's this really fine balance between how much do we talk about and how much do we, keep secret. And the way Patchstack, Patchstack will notify the developer ahead of time. And, with the, hey, we're going to start talking about this publicly on this date. So you've got, this window of time to fix it before the announcement goes live. So, it's as responsible as it can possibly be, I think, on Patchstack's side. But even now, only 31.5% of ACF users have updated to the patched version. So that's a lot of vulnerability out there. So if you are an ACF user, make sure, once again, that you are updated. If you update it, you're safe. But this is an actively exploited vulnerability. Something else going on here is if you use the header footer plugin from WP Code, this is a plugin that's been around forever and ever. It has millions of installed users. For the second time this year, that plugin, the insert header and footer plugin from WP Code, has a vulnerability. This is a cross-site forgery request, which basically, if you're a logged in user and you click on a link, then that can cause some problems. If you get this, hijacked link that a hacker would provide, over 1 million users are affected, and that's a bad deal. It could allow actually deletion of files on the site. So if you're using the WP Code header footer plugin, make sure you are up to date. It is patched in the latest version. All right, let's talk a little bit about Patchstack. iThemes Security started using Patchstack several months ago to power our vulnerability scan. It is, I think, much better than what we were using before. And Patchstack has now opened a vulnerability reporting program for plugins. This is an opt-in program that plugin and theme developers can join. And basically what they're doing, they're offering a minimum viable disclosure program for developers, making it easier for folks to report vulnerabilities. So developers can join the program for free, and they, as a result, can display a logo or whatever to we're committed to security. And if they developers who are participating they're going to be given help as they're identifying and fixing issues more efficiently. It's a really good program for everybody involved. Plugins with a Patchstack badge that says, hey, we're part of this program. It's more attractive, more trustworthy to users, and security researchers, people who are just doing research and trying to find those vulnerabilities, can be incentivized through a bounty pool. So if you find a vulnerability, you get paid for it. So it's a really good thing to increase security in WordPress, but also we see those numbers ticking up every month of the number of vulnerabilities that are being found. And that's because they're being incentivized. And ultimately, that is a good thing. So again, free to join, and they can choose to offer additional bounty to security researchers. And this is the platform that we're using for iThemes Security Pro. So good stuff. All right, let's talk about a very, very good subject next, and that is what Google is calling the beginning of the end of the password. So this month, Google began rolling out passkeys as a more secure alternative to passwords. Now, we've been talking about this here on iThemes Training since last year, when iThemes Security Pro became the very first WordPress security plugin to offer passkeys. It was a little clunky at the beginning. It's gotten better and better. And just like Timothy said in that webinar back the end of last summer, this is a brand new technology. It's going to be especially around summer of 2023. We're there now. You're going to see this rolled out by major players like Google and Apple and your bank and all these other institutions. And it's going to become more and more commonplace. So within the next several months, we'll start to see passkeys becoming more and more popular. So this is something, if you're not familiar with the subject of passkeys, do some reading about this, because it's finally going to, like they say here, it's the beginning of the end of the password. Passwords are just horrible. Somebody mentioned in the chat a minute ago talking about LastPass. Like it's just, it's so hard to get non-technical users to use a unique, complex, unique password on every site. It's just, people don't do it. Passkeys are a solution to that. It's a customized login that once you authenticate once, it matches your device and it makes it where it's much easier to log in. So passkeys are supported by Chrome and Android. It's working on iOS as well. Services like DocuSign and PayPal are already using it. So maybe you've seen that if you've had a DocuSign process go through, or if you're using PayPal, you've already seen probably how passkeys, not necessarily called that, but this whole process of now we're linking you with your device and there's the unique thing and it just sort of passes through. That's your passkeys, and they're starting to work. So if you're a Google account user, you can try out passkeys at g.co/passkeys. Just give it a try. Passkeys are set as currently as an additional option for sign in, as traditional passwords and 2FA do continue to work. But yes, they will eventually replace two-factor authentication in the future at some point. Now, this is probably a years-long process to transition from passwords into passkeys, but it's happening, and that's a really good thing. And yes, Apple is aware. Apple was one of the, has been an early supporter of passkeys. It works great on iOS and Mac. Here's how, this is Google's little video here of how it works. So signing in, do I want to use a passkey? Yep. And I'm going to verify biometrically if you're on a phone. It's really cool. And you're logged in. It works really well. Works really well. Now, Beth is asking about public computers. That's a little more complicated. But yeah, you'd have to go through additional steps. Now, just when you're happy with Google for rolling out passkeys to, Gmail users are going to get used to using these. It's going to start to really bring people into this new world of passwordless logins. And how great is that going to be? Before you start liking Google too much, here's our next story, which is these new top-level domains that Google has introduced. So Google has introduced 8 new TLDs. 2 of them are .zip and .mov. That's a problem. The zip and MOV top-level domains are frequently used to designate files, right? And security professionals are worried that these new TLDs might cause confusion. Like somebody sends you a spam email and it's like, go to yourphotos.zip or whatever. And that's actually, it's not a file. It's actually a website that can start to exploit. So this just sounds like a terrible idea to me. I don't know. Chris and I were talking about this the other day. It's like, I guess it's just the money. They want the $10 a year for the domain or something, but this just does not seem like a good idea. But it's out there, and this is something you might want to let your clients know about. All right, while on the subject of hackers and scammers, if you're a KeePass user, the KeePass password manager has a problem. All users of KeePass right now are at risk of having their master password stolen unless you've specifically updated to the beta version. So a security researcher has discovered the vulnerability and created a proof of concept tool that extracts almost your entire master password, even when KeePass is locked or closed. Now that would have to be, would have to have physical access to your machine, like through a malware infection. But let's say, you get some malware, you have KeePass installed, that malware can snatch almost your entire password where there's only a few additional digits that a password cracker would have to guess. And that would happen very, very quickly. So this is not good. KeePass is working on rolling out the fix, a full fix, but probably that won't happen until June or July of this year. There is a beta version available that you can download from the KeePass website, but you do have to know about it, go get it, go download it, and realize it's beta, so things might be a little sketchy. KeePass, in the meantime, is advising users to avoid downloading apps or opening files from unknown sources, visiting only trustworthy websites, and using antivirus software to protect their systems. So if you are a KeePass user, be aware. All right, let's move into some news from Solid WP. That's us, that's iThemes. We'll be, again, if you're just joining us, iThemes, of course, is becoming Solid WP. We'll be making that transition over the next several months. iThemes training will become Solid Academy, and we're really excited about that. One of the first things I'd like to talk about this month under the Solid banner is a new user verification option in iThemes Security Pro. So as passkeys are rolling out, we've mentioned earlier that iThemes Security Pro, the first WordPress security plugin to implement passkeys. The way browsers are handling passkeys has changed a little bit, and so our settings have changed. So the new version of iThemes Security 7.3.4 offers more control over how passkeys work with your WordPress login. And so because all platforms don't support passkeys in the same way, that could create some confusion for people. So iThemes Security has added a new option in the passwordless login section under passkeys to let you decide how you want this to work. So right here in this area, you can say passkeys are preferred, or you're going to require passkeys on the website. And then you have the option of, how do you want this to, follow down? Like you can create a number of different passwordless options like the magic link, or, just as it has before. So this is a great little feature that we'll get Timothy on pretty soon to explain and walk us through how this all works. So good stuff. All right, the June premium event for iThemes training is now on the calendar. This is our Google local bootcamp with my friend Trisha Clements. Trisha, all she does at Your Biz Watchdog, her business, is Google local. She is a pro on this. She's been doing it for years. And I forgot to update the titles on this, and as well all of the details about the event. So completely missed that, but we'll be talking about Google Local for 2 days. Sorry about that. And if you want to take a look, let me just pull up the event page here on the training site. Here's the actual event link. Yeah, missed this one. I'm going to drop the link in the chat. Sorry about that, folks. And here is the Google Local event, where we'll be talking 2 days on setting up your local SEO for success. How does it all work, basically? And then day 2, how to increase your recurring revenue with local SEO. So Trisha's going to show us not only how local SEO works, but how to leverage it as a service for clients. And this is going to be 4 hours of excellent training. And that is, again, June 27th and 28th of 2023. That's going to be a lot of fun coming up. Some other things happening on iThemes training. Tomorrow, we have a webinar with a couple of folks from LearnDash. So if you're a LearnDash user, they've just added on some really cool features with course notes, gradebook, groups. So if you're a LearnDash user or you want to start offering LMS services to your clients, check out that webinar tomorrow, 1 o'clock Central. Office hours on Thursday, as usual, for members. There will be no live streams the week of May 29th. I'm going to be on vacation, but I'll be back on June the 6th for Plugin Roundup and, of course, office hours that week as well. All right, let's get on to some news from plugins. Several interesting things have happened. To celebrate the 20th anniversary of the WordPress core, Pascal Bircher, who is a WordPress core committer, has created the periodic table of WordPress plugins. Now, he's done something like this in the past, and he's updated it now for the 20th anniversary celebration. It's a periodic table that showcases the 108 most popular free plugins on WordPress.org. So he's updated the chart from 10 years ago. It's interactive, so you can click on the plugin elements and get some more information about each one. Over half the plugins have 1 million installs. Pardon me. The lowest number on the chart, 600,000 installs. So here's what it looks like. It's a periodic table, and you can click on one of the elements. Hey, look, there's a redirection from John Godley, one of our favorite plugins here on iThemes training. And kind of poke around. It's pretty interesting, fun little tool. And you can actually, if you noticed, you can actually buy a poster for your wall with this on there. Isn't that fun? Yoast is right up here. It is the #1 plugin, the most installed, with Jetpack #2, Akismet 3, Elementor 4, and on down the list. Pretty interesting, right? So that is available at plugintable.com. You can go check that out right now. Plugintable.com. WooCommerce 7.7 was released a couple of weeks ago. It brings the multi-channel marketing feature out of beta. There's a new marketing dashboard that lets you connect your WooCommerce site to additional sales channels like Google, Shop, Amazon, and eBay. Inventory management from within your WooCommerce site is supported on every channel through which you sell, which really makes WooCommerce competitive now with Shopify Plus, which does the same thing. They've also done some additional styling so that shopper notices can be made more consistent across your site. Pretty good stuff. Here's the new marketing dashboard. You can see where all you can add Google, Pinterest, TikTok, Amazon, eBay, Walmart integration. So lots of different channels that you now have access to in the marketing dashboard of WooCommerce. Some other things WooCommerce 7.7 included were in expanded styling of options for product SKU, product price, product image, a new product reviews block if you're designing your product page with blocks, and a new expanded mini cart block in customization. So pretty good stuff there in WooCommerce 7.7. It was a non-breaking release, as most of them lately have been, meaning it should be fully backwards compatible with everything that happened before. All right, here's another fun little project that came up. It is called the WPBuilders Fight Club. Now, those of you that are longtime iThemes people probably recognize the name Sridhar Katakam. Sridhar was a tech support guru at iThemes back in the olden days, back in the early days of iThemes. He's a really great guy, brilliant WordPress implementer, very, very helpful as well. Anyway, Sridhar and some folks have gotten together to put together the WordPress Builders Fight Club. And the basic idea is this: let's build the same page on multiple page builder platforms and see what they do, like see how they measure up against each other. And yeah, here's what it looks like. So it's out there now. Here's the first round. You'll see there's the Beaver Builder, and you can see what the page weight is and that sort of thing for each of the options. Pretty cool. Oops. Of course, the first rule of WPBuilders Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. I also advanced the slide too quickly, but you can see how it's rating these things with DOM size, page size, GT metric score, and so forth, and get the rankings of your favorite builder. Pretty cool stuff. So this is at WPBuildersFightClub.org. So check that out. That's a fun little project to follow, I think. All right, let's move into some AI news. Wow, there's some AI news this month. This is going to continue to be a growing section in the news roundup, and probably, if I'm honest, my favorite section. So WordPress contributors are doing a lot of research right now to ensure that WordPress as a platform is ready for AI-powered extensions. Matt Mullenweg, the founder of WordPress, advised that we should be spending time leveraging AI for productivity and capability improvements in 2023. We're going to, just like we mentioned earlier, you're going to see developers plugging in AI APIs into their plugins to make things more usable. Matt says that open source and AI are two mega trends of the future that will complement each other, certainly. Some WordPress contributors, like our own Matt Cromwell from Stellar WP, suggest that AI really ought to be done at the plugin level. I think I agree with him on that. Rather than adding it to core WordPress, you'd have to really convince me that it should go into core. That's really more of a plugin feature. But one of the core leads, Ann McCarthy, shared a video of how AI integrated into Gutenberg's command center that we talked about before might be able to work with AI and some suggested designs. So as you remember, back in the Gutenberg section, we talked about that new command center that's been added. And I mentioned at that point, this could be a way to get AI working better with WordPress. And here is a proof of concept of what that could look like. Wait until you see this. So here's a page on the website called What Makes a Pizza Neapolitan. Show me some design options for this page. So it's a contextual command. Boom. Like, it's basic, but this is the kind of thing that AI could do inside of WordPress. Is that not just amazing? We're on just the very tippy tip of this whole AI explosion into WordPress, and it is going to make things very, very interesting for the months to come. All right, OpenAI is going to release an open source model this year. So Matt said open source and AI are two very compatible technologies that's really going to pave the way of the future. And OpenAI is open sourcing, which is really, really interesting. So later this year, OpenAI is going to release this open source model that comes amidst pressure from Meta, the company behind Facebook, which released several open source models earlier this year. This will be the first open source model from OpenAI since 2019. Probably won't be nearly as sophisticated of a large language model as the GPT is, but it will be open source nonetheless. Something else interesting that OpenAI is doing, ChatGPT now has an iPhone app. So you can open it if you have an iPhone, open it up right now in your app store. You can download the ChatGPT app. It's right there. It's free. The free version is built on 3.5. And if you have ChatGPT Plus, you can get access to GPT-4 just like you can in the browser. So if you log in with your same user ID, it's going to sync your chat history back and forth. But one of the really cool things about it is that the app allows you to talk using OpenAI's speech recognition system, which is called Whisper. So right now, it only works with iOS 16.1 and later, and iPhone 8 and newer, and Android app is planned but not yet available. Yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting. So they are, by the way, and there's some stories about this, how be careful because they are listening to what you say. So they are using your input to better train the AI. we've known that really about OpenAI from the beginning. They're making the AI better based on the input that we give it. So pretty cool. Not to be outdone, Microsoft is also rolling out new features for Bing Chat. This is the GPT integration with Microsoft Bing and with the Edge browser from Microsoft. Microsoft has introduced several new features to Bing Chat, including chat history, a new mobile widget, conversations across platforms, multilingual, SwiftKey, and Bing Edge Big Edge updates. This is going to help make Bing Chat a lot more search-friendly and user-friendly and give you better answers. The Microsoft Edge browser, by the way, if you haven't played with this yet, just download Edge either for Mac or PC and use the little chat feature. It's kind of slow, but it's getting better. And it really gives pretty good results based on the context that you're browsing in right there. Works on desktop and mobile, and you no longer now have to be logged into a Microsoft account. But if you're not logged in, you only get 5 chats per session. So pretty cool. This is what it looks like. This might be a little bit of visual overwhelm, but here, this is a voice command. Write a joke for my 5-year-old about an octopus. So what do you call an octopus that likes to bake? An octopi. But there it is, right? It's voice command. Here's another one. What wine pairs well with this recipe? So there's a great example of a contextual search. We've got this recipe up for this tofu, whatever it was. And you pull, hey, give me a wine that pairs with this. And it just right away gives you the answer. Pretty cool. Here's another one. I'm looking at this product and I highlight textured grip and send that to chat. And it gives me some more information. What do you want to do with that? Explain it. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So these are some of the ways that Microsoft is leveraging the GPT AI into its Bing browsing experience. We're only going to see this getting better across the board. Google is also adding generative searching with its search as well. Access to what they're calling Search Generative Experience, SGE, is available on a Google Labs waiting list. The new search displays an AI-generated answer above search text results. So this is going to throw another wrench into our SEO options. And we do have the SEO bootcamp that is coming up, or 2 SEO trainings that are coming up with Lindsay Halsey. That's going to be July and August of this year. We'll have that information out pretty soon. But we'll certainly get Lindsay to weigh in on how AI is affecting search. So with the Google SGE, Google's can answer follow-up questions to refine their query. And Google, it's very careful about topics that are what they call the YMYL, your money, your life topics, like health, weight loss, recipes, finance, those sorts of things. So interesting. It's going to, here's what it looks like, by the way. Bluetooth speaker for a pool party. There's our results. And right here's our AI. Boom. It just gives some more things. Asking a follow-up questions. So this is just the first rollout of how this is going to look. And Google will, of course, refine this as we go. Pretty interesting. The world is changing, folks, all around us. The WordPress agency HumanMade, they're an enterprise WordPress agency. They are organizing the first ever AI for WordPress online conference this Thursday. So 2 days from now, it's a free conference. You can just take a look here at this WP Tavern article or go to humanmade.com. The conference is going to feature demos of AI projects by HumanMade and other industry leaders. HumanMade has been doing a lot with WordPress AI, and they just want to show some of that. So it's going to showcase the practical applications of AI technology. They've got a guide, 76 ways AI could transform WordPress, that you can download for free at their site as well. Here's a video that they showed of something they're playing around with here in the block editor. Just like a chat GPT prompt, write a poem about WordPress. Yeah. Now we're going to stop that and say, wait, no, I meant to do it in French. And there it goes, right? So there's a lot of these concepts that are debuting in these sorts of videos of how AI and WordPress could work together. We're going to see these things happening. They're going to be real time, just in the next few months, I would imagine. We'll start to see these sorts of things directly right there in the block editor. Pretty cool. A few more bits of AI news. Here's 5 good ways to write for humans using AI tools from the iThemes blog. It's really a good article there. ChatGPT can now control robots from Boston Dynamics. That's a little scary for me, but it's interesting to show how The Boston Dynamics team has connected the OpenAI API, and now ChatGPT can control robots. Great article on Yoast. Are we digging our own hole with generative AI? This is a really good article that I would recommend that you read. And also, I'm going to balance all this out with if you're nervous about AI and you're the work you're doing with clients. This is a great tweet from Dr. Milan Milanovic. To replace programs with AI, clients will need to accurately describe what they want. We're safe. Now, there's some truth to that, to be honest. AI is all about the prompt, at least today. There you go. All right, let's move into some other news. This is stuff that didn't fit anywhere else. Great little bit of news from Google. They're going to start deactivating inactive accounts after 2 years. They've introduced a policy of after 2 years of inactivity, they're going to start deleting accounts. That's going to prevent spam, cut costs. Inactivity is defined as a lack of sign-ins or Android check-ins or subscriptions. If you have a business account with a monthly fee, that doesn't count. You have to at least sign in once every 2 years. It's a pretty low bar to meet, but certainly you can imagine, I mean, how many Gmail accounts are out there that people created and then never logged into again, right? They're going to clean house. Pretty good idea. That's going to start in December of this year. They're going to send multiple notifications to those email addresses that people never log into. So there you go. All right. The WordPress 2022 annual survey results are in. They did not get a lot of response to this. The response was way down. Only 800 contributors globally to this survey. Only 26% actually completed the survey. Even though they reduced the number of questions down to a third of what it was the year before. So they just didn't get a lot of traction on this one for some reason. It reveals more blocks and new site editor use is as expected with the new default block theme. 68% learned about WordPress last year. 48% taught others. 55% built sites. WordPress users prefer it for being open source. 62% flexible, low risk, cost effective, and reputable. Most respondents rarely use other CMSs. We're all WordPress. And 21% don't use, or only 21%, we should say, don't use the top 20 WordPress plugins. 68% of the respondents say WordPress equals or outperforms others. They like its ease of use, flexibility, plugins. Only 20% find nothing frustrated. I love the way they worded this because what you could say is 80% of people find something about WordPress frustrating, which is true. And 30% struggle with site editing Gutenberg. I wonder about that because I think it's probably higher. 64% have positive contributor experiences, 24% neutral. Anyway, there's more if you want to read the whole thing right there at this link right there. All right, here's a little interesting tidbit. There's never really been a WordPress certification until now. The folks at Certified WP have created a WordPress management and design credential. So this is a credential aimed at helping job seekers demonstrate their skills to potential employers. Costs $150. Includes 3 courses toward mastering front-end development. Items in the beginner and intermediate levels describe a WordPress power user, basically. So certification also includes skills like navigating the admin panel, hosting, web optimization, and more. It's 110 questions over 3 levels, as well as a practical component. You don't have to take the courses to be eligible for the exam. If you just want to pay $150 and get certified, you can probably do that. So, maybe a good thing. You can decide if you want that or not. Pretty interesting. The WordPress Accessibility Day call for speakers is open. So if you're doing accessibility things and you'd like to speak, you can do that at 2023.wpaccessibility.day, or just download the slides and click the link. So they're looking for speakers now that are focused on specific talks over general overviews. There is a small honorarium involved, which is kind of nice. You have until June 11th to submit. You'll be notified by the end of the month. Few acquisitions that have happened. This is a big one. Wishlist Member, one of the OG membership plugins of WordPress, has been acquired by MemberPress. Also, WC Vendors has been acquired by Rymera. And last of all, Amelia Capital, which is the investment company run by the founders of Yoast SEO, has invested in WPCS which is a cloud service that specializes in SaaS and WAS solutions. So that's kind of interesting to see what Yoast and the team at Amelia are going to do with that little hosting platform. All right, let's move to news that's worth a look. Some things we ran across that were interesting. Here's a great article at Daily Mail UK website. How weak is your password? You would be surprised how the advancements in processing power and AI have allowed bad actors to guess passwords up to 10 characters almost instantly. This is something I talked about with the LastPass hack earlier last year, middle of the year, whenever that happened last year. It's been a while, it seems like. Anyway, great. Your master password is out there. And sure, right now it's 20 characters or 15 characters. And as of today, it might take 1,000 years to guess that password, but processing power continues to increase. Advances in AI, the time it takes to guess that master password is low. This is what I was saying way back then. And there's a great article here if you want to dig into that. Here's another great one. We're going to have a live stream about this pretty soon. How will Cadence AI change the way we build with WordPress? So all I can say, and I haven't even seen it, but Kathy Zant is just giddy about Cadence AI and how it's working in the block editor. She is so excited about how this is fleshing out. Those things that we just, the examples of how AI is working in the block editor, that's coming in Cadence AI. And if you're a Cadence user, you are going to love it. There's a great podcast episode on the official WordPress podcast. The WordPress executive director, Josepha Hayden Chamfosi, looks back at the last 20 years of WordPress and how the open source community has made WordPress what it is today. Also, another look back on 20 years of WordPress and the impact of freelancers. That's you and me, people doing WordPress with clients, on the growth of WordPress on the WP Minute podcast. All right, let's wrap up with some news from the WordPress community. We got a couple of upcoming US-based WordCamps. Buffalo, New York is on May the 6th. That already happened. And then WordCamp Montclair, New Jersey is next month. So those are a couple of Montclair, at least, is coming up in June. Also, the WordCamp US and the first WordCamp Community Summit, which is the 2 days prior to WordCamp US. That's in Washington, D.C. on that August 24th and 26th for WordCamp, and then 22nd and 23rd for the Community Summit. If you're going to be there, make sure you look me up because I'll be at both of those events. A couple of upcoming global WordCamps as well. WordCamp Apatin in Serbia at the end of May. WordCamp EU is coming up June 8th through 10th. WordCamp, goodness, I'm going to fumble that. Iloilo, is that right? Iloilo City in the Philippines, July the 8th, and WordCamp Jinja, Uganda in September. To help folks get to WordCamp, Master WP, which is a resource site for WordPress professionals, has unveiled its guest travel grant program. So this is pretty cool to help underrepresented speakers from underrepresented groups get to WordCamps. So there's over $10,000 that is set aside for this. Each selected recipient will receive at least $1,000 toward travel expenses. Master WP is partnered with Accessicart, Nexus, Paid Memberships Pro, the WP Minute, and Unlimited WP for this grant program. If you are from an underrepresented group, that includes all sorts of groups that are underrepresented, the race-based, or if you're a female in tech, you should apply because you might well be get a grant to help you travel. Pretty cool stuff. Another bit of WordCamp news, which I am interested to see how this develops. The WordCamp Central, the WordPress community team, has announced a significant shift in the purpose of WordCamps. So WordCamps now have the stated purpose of promoting innovation and adoption through training and networking for users, builders, designers, and extenders of WordPress. Now, the way this is going to flesh out is that it's not like WordCamps used to be, come to our city and we're going to have tracks for content and for developers and for business people. It's going to be different now, where the event format is going to be come and do, this is going to be an event about SEO workshops, or it might be an unconference or a job fair or a networking event. So the whole way WordCamps are organized is going to, it's going to change. So we will, I don't know much more about this. There's not a whole lot of information out there. And it'll be interesting to see how this fleshes out. The flagship WordCamps, US, Europe, and Asia will remain the largest events, very similar to the way they've been running. Reactions have been mostly positive. A lot of concern over attracting diverse speakers, diverse audiences, and keeping our community values. So we'll see how this flushes out. There's certainly been, it's been harder for WordCamps to get going again post-pandemic. And I think this is an effort to stir the pot a little bit and get some excitement about WordCamps back happening. We mentioned earlier that WordPress Accessibility Day is coming. That is a 24-hour global event that is coming, and you can register for that at wpaccessibility.day. The link is there in the chat. That's going to wrap us up for today and the May 2023 WordPress News Roundup. I'm going to drop in once again the link to today's slides in the chat. If you came in a little bit late and you missed those, we'll have the replay up with the transcript and chat log after we wrap up today, about an hour from now. Well, thanks for hanging out with me for News Roundup. We're back tomorrow with that Learn Dash webinar for everybody. That's a free one. Come check that out, as well as the office hours for members on Thursday at 1 o'clock. Until then, have a great rest of the day. We'll see you back here tomorrow on iThemes Training, where we go further together.